Cam, I've heard from a lot of Baylor fans, and the reason you're brought on the show today, mostly that not only was there the most egregious officiating performance of the year in the Big 12, which I've been very passionate against. I think the officiating is unwatchable in the best conference in America, in the best conference of all time. And this time, Brett Yormark got a front row seat to see my grandma in the nursing home, get thrown out of a game. That's what the equivalent of Scott Drew getting tossed is. Like, that just doesn't make any sense in my brain.
Yes. So Brett Yormark was at the game. I will note that when things really got off the rails in the second half, Brett's seat was empty. So I don't know if he was still in the arena or not, how convenient that is. But I'll say this. I'll keep this part short, Drake. Jeb Hartness, who was the crew chief, I guess is what they would call it in football, the lead official in last night's or Saturday night's game between Baylor and Iowa State, who gave 3 techs to Scott Drew and ejected him. First time he's ever been ejected in his career. Jeb Hartness, if he has 100 haters, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
If he's got 10 haters, I'm one of them. If he has no haters, I'm dead.
He killed you.
He probably killed you. Probably. For stepping outside of the coach's box. This guy sucks. I mean, you've seen the picture by now. You've seen the video by now. Scott Drew is out of the coach's box by like half of his one knee that's on the ground and gets tossed. And then they call another technical on the Baylor bench right after that still nobody knows what it was. Yep. No coach, no player, nobody around the bench at all knows what it was. And that game had 45 fouls in it, not including the techs, which is his low total of the week because in the game Wednesday between OU and Kansas State, he called 48.
Yeah, he did.
So this guy, this is just all that is wrong with officiating in this conference, man, and officiating in general, because it's not just a Big 12 problem. It is a college basketball problem. This guy thinks that we work hard all week, pay good money to get in the brand new Foster Pavilion to see the Jeb Hartness show. And this was not enforcing the integrity of the game at all. This was, I want to be the guy who throws Scott Drew out of a game. And it's atrocious. I mean, that wasn't the only thing. It was piss poor officiating the whole night. And I'm never a blame the ref kind of guy. Iowa State goes on a 20-0 run in that game, which still can't happen, right?
Yeah.
But when it was 10-0, the first 8 points of the first 10 in that run came from the free throw line. 6 of them directly from that ejection. Like, it kept Iowa State in the game. It absolutely did. And by the way, when Iowa State hits that buzzer beater, that is not a buzzer beater. If you've heard the broadcast before that, they were kind of like guessing how much time. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
There's like 0.7, right? Plus, I don't know, half a second. That's 1.2. If they just guess 1.3 or 1.4, Baylor loses the game on that. Yeah. Like that, it just nothing but suck all the way around. And it takes away from the best conference ever. It sucks, man. Jeb Hartness, I am a hater.
I think the best part of the whole thing was Mac Rhodes coming to the podium after the game and being like, I'm not that guy. I've never done this. By the way, when I was at Baylor and covering Baylor, Mac and I were at odds a few times. We didn't get along about everything. Like, reporters and ADs don't always get along. Some of them hug. Sometimes they hug. Other times they have very normal working relationships. And I'll give Mac credit for this one because he comes to the podium and is like, that was so embarrassing. I just love it. Wasn't even the coach, because Scott's just that nice. The one guy who deserved to say it was Scott Drew, but he is my grandmother. Mac Rhodes like, you know what? I'll take it. Doesn't sit down. He's standing up in the room, like conducting. Spectacular.
Scott Drew literally said, we'll review the tape to see what I did wrong, knowing full well he did nothing wrong. Yeah. And you and I know Mac enough to know that Mac is a feisty guy.
Yes.
Like, for the image that Baylor puts out, by the way, Baylor Athletics YouTube didn't even include this in there. That's the kind of image, like,
soft is the word
they're trying to put out. Yeah. Yes. But Mac is not that way, which is so funny. And I think he was reveling in this moment. Like, he was peeved the whole time. And I mean, he said it flat out. He just said that was an embarrassment. we're supposed to be the best league in America, and the officials did not show that. We have some good officials in this league. These are not them. Like, he's so, and we've heard stories about phone calls that Mack Rhoades has had where the volume gets pretty high. I think he called the league offices yesterday in Irving or wherever they are, and I think that was a bit of a one-way discussion, and it probably was pretty loud.
Yes. We have heard of loud conversations he's had with those within his office, much less those that he can have a vendetta against that he doesn't have to see every day. Finally, this is the same thing I've been saying. It's so bad and somebody needs to address it.
It's terrible, so much. And it can happen to you next. 48 fouls in that last game he did. Can I finish that point actually real quick? Because I do have the numbers here. I did some research on Jeb Hartness, because 48 fouls in that OU Kansas State game in midweek. OU's game on Saturday had 37 total, and which is still kind of high. Kansas State's game against Oklahoma State on Saturday had 29 total fouls, 19 less than what Jeb Hartness called them in that game. I mean, it happened to Baylor in the worst way, almost literally cost them the game. They took their Hall of Fame head coach out with 11 minutes left, but it can happen to any one of us, and it will, as long as he's allowed to do games. He is the poster child of the bad officiating in this league. Thanks for your service, Kip. Bring up Jeb Hartness.
That's the thing, man. Kip and John are sitting back, cigars. John Higgins and Kip Kissinger they're having a great life. They're in Cancun right now, just living it up. Living it up. That's Cameron Stewart from Locked On Baylor. I'm glad that I just got so much flack for me being peeved at Big 12 officials. People are like, oh, yeah, well, stop complaining. It's bad everywhere. No, this is colossally awful. Terrible. And finally, one of our own athletic directors in this conference said the same thing in a press conference.
After they went after our Mr. Rogers. Like, nobody has bad words to say. Actually, Iowa State fans weirdly do. But no other fan base has bad things to say about Scott Drew. And first time he's been ejected in 21 years. I had, in the Locked On Baylor mentions, man, I had Kansas fans, I had OU fans, Oklahoma State fans, Tech fans, like, what the hell is happening? So it could be any one of us next, man. Any one of us.
Could be you. And then the school was the school was too soft to even post the clip from Mack Rhoades, as if it doesn't already exist on the internet. Like, dude, that is mind-boggling. That's Cameron Stewart from Locked On Baylor. This has been
standing up for the players. Like, I don't get it. Anyway.
Hey, can we just cut that part of the press conference, please? It might give a bad look. It's already all over Twitter.
Standing up for us.
It is your athletic director. You're cutting your own AD out of your press conference. Mr. Person who makes a fourth of the AD salary less. Gross. This has been Always Will Be. Come back tomorrow because I'm going to have so much content, and Cam is too. A lot. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day.
Baylor.
Dose Grande.